How the abandoned children raised among wild animals ended will shock you. Shamdeo was found playing with wolf cubs in a forest in India in 1972. He hunted chickens and craved the taste of blood. He had matted hair, sharpened fingernails, and calluses on its hands and knees. He was then taken back to civilization, but never learned to speak. He was renamed Pascal, but didn't survive long in the civilized world. Died in 1985. 7-year-old Prava was found living with his mother and dozens of her pet birds in a tiny 2-bedroom apartment. Prava's mother treated him like another of her pets, feeding him but never speaking to him. As a result, his only communication with the other birds, he couldn't speak but chirp. He's currently being rehabilitated in a center for psychological care. Camilla, 8, and Amila, 12, were found in a cave by a reverend who noted that they ran on all fours and didn't look like human children. Anyway, he captured them home where they slept curled up together, tore off their clothing, and ate raw meat. They were physically deformed and had no interest in human interaction, but they have an exceptional sense of smell and sight. Amila died the year after her capture. Camilla learned to walk upright and say a few words, but died of kidney failure at age 17. Abused by his family, Ivan ran away to live with a pack of dogs at age 4. He begged in the streets and shared food with the dogs. Eventually, he won the dogs' trust and became the pack leader. 2 years later, he was caught and placed in a children's home. He recovered in a relatively short time and now lives a normal life. Memi lived in the forests of France for 10 years. She ate birds, frogs, branches, and leaves, and fought off wild animals with a club. She was captured at 19 when the Queen of Poland took her hunting in 1737. She was still able to run fast enough to catch rabbits. Then a rich patron sponsored her recovery. She learned to read, write, and speak fluent English. She became a nun in the end and died well off at the age 63 in France. Sujit's parents would lock him up in the chicken coop when Sujit showed dysfunctional behavior as a child. His grandparents went on to keep him locked in the coop when his parents died away. When he was released, he'd crouch on a chair and peck his food and make rapid clicking noises with his tongue. He was tied down to bed for 20 years in an old people's home because he was too aggressive for the workers. He's now 30 and cared for by a woman who rescued him from the home. At age 2, the boy was shaken in by a leopardess and raised with her cubs. At age 5, the leopardess was shot and the boy was returned to his family in a small village in India. He couldn't speak but only grunted and growled. He would bite and fight with everyone who came near him. He learned to speak and walk upright after years spent among humans. He later became blind from cataracts, a disease he inherited from his human family. At age 3, Oksana Malaya crawled into a dog kennel looking for warmth after her alcoholic parents left her outside. She stayed with the dogs for 6 years, during which she learned to run on all fours, pant with her tongue out, and bark. The only words she knew were yes and no due to her little communication with humans. She learned basic language and social skills after intensive therapy. Now 30, she works with farm animals in a clinic in Odessa. This Mexican girl was first seen in 1845 running with a pack of wolves, attacking a herd of goats. 1 year later, she was seen with wolves again, this time eating a goat. She was last seen in 1852 suckling 2 wolf cubs, but then she ran into the woods and was never seen again. Medina had been living in the company of dogs since her birth. Her father left and her mother was an alcoholic. When she was found by social workers in 2013 at age 3, she was naked, walking on all fours and growling like a dog. The doctors reported that Medina is mentally and physically healthy despite all she's been through. They hope she'll have a normal life once she's developed language skills. Victor was discovered in the woods in the south of France in 1800. He was then covered in scars and unable to speak a word. Scientists found little about his feral background, but learned that he was barely able to feel cold. Victor was never able to learn to speak and behave normally. He was later institutionalized in Paris and died at the age of 40. Jeannie's father tied her to a chair and left her alone in a room for 10 years when she was a toddler because her father decided she was retarded. In 1970, her mother released her into child services, where workers found she only had odd bunny walk, wasn't toilet trained, and couldn't speak. She later passed through foster homes where she got constantly harassed and abused. She became completely silent when she then returned to a children's hospital. Now she lives in a home for mentally underdeveloped adults. Meeting your newborn niece or nephew for the first time is pretty exciting. Just ask 18-year-old Grant Kessler of Ohio. who recently met his baby niece, Carter, for the first time. He showed up at the hospital wearing a full suit. I repeat, a full suit. The moments leading up to Carter's birth were pretty intense for Grant, who was sitting in the waiting room as his older sister Olivia labored. And luckily, the moment was captured forever, thanks to Grant's younger sister, Iris, who snapped a photo of a nervous Grant and posted it on Twitter. The post has since been retweeted over 98,000 times and liked over 319,000 times. Men who grow up with sisters around tend to have a natural instinct for treating the women in their life with heaps of respect. His little niece wasn't even born yet, and he's already showing her how much she matters. You may notice that not only is he wearing a suit and tie, he's even added a tie clip.